I'm going to get started. Since I have the occasion, I'm going to tell this bad joke, which I wasn't originally going to tell, but since we have, 6 people, I'll tell the famous joke. So there was a small congregation somewhere down south, and the Chabad rabbi there usually got a minyan. But this week, sadly, what happened was there was a tremendous amount of snow. There were like 3 feet of snow. And what happened was that pretty much one farmer showed up to shul. So the rabbi said, look, what should we do? It's just me and you. He said, well, look, I'll tell you, Rabbi, I'm just an average farmer, but, I have to feed the chickens. Sometimes the chickens come all together. Sometimes 1 or 2 chickens come, but I feed whoever comes. The rabbi said, all right, that's great. So he started services. He started with the morning service. Then he did the whole reading of the Torah from the book, from the Chumash. Then he gave a 45-minute sermon. Then finally, after Musaf, several hours later, he turns to the farm. He says, okay, how was it? And the farmer said, look, when those 2 chickens come, I don't pour the entire bucket over them, So at the end of the day, whether we have many people or few people, it's all good. And God willing, this is being recorded. So everyone should be careful about what they say. In any event, I really want to thank everyone for joining us. Today was 5 years since my father passed away. And it's been quite a 5 years. When I reflected about it yesterday with the family, we're like, it's just been an incredulous 5 years. It started with Dad passing away. And then, shortly thereafter, we had COVID. After that, our Aunt Colette got sick and she passed away. And just some time ago, we started this terrible war that we were dragged into. And at the end of the day, it's just there. And there's so many other things that happened. So it's been a very challenging 5 years for our family. And I think for everyone. In any event, I wanted to focus on a couple of things about my dad, which are different. Usually we talk about my dad's interpersonal relationships and all the people that he connected to. But I wanted to share some other skill sets and some other habits that he had, which I gained tremendously from. The first thing is my dad was pretty organized when it came to physical possessions. Everything that he had a place. Now, I have also inherited this, which my children mock me for, the OCD, which is like just restricted to my personal belongings and the library. And at the end of the day, I mean, for me, it's much easier way to live because I always know where things are and I don't have to spend time looking for them. And I think part of that was for my dad, just knowing where things were and having the security. And the other part, the second part, was really his ability to be prepared. He was always prepared. He always had things ready so that, if we needed this, we needed. So he had like large stacks of coins and packages of bills and dollars and this medication and this soap and this, that. So whenever you needed something, there was always something stockpiled. I'm pretty sure that my brother and I both inherited this, and my brother-in-law, Al, somehow inherited it also. We all like to stockpile things. And finally, the last facet is the ability to see if there's a bad situation and prevent it. So for example, if there was like a cup, anyone who has children knows this, if there was like a cup like at the edge of the table, to like move it, because it's just a matter of time till it's going to get knocked down. Now, that did not save Dad from the many spillage incidents that took place with his grandchildren. There was one particular incident with one of my children, who will remain nameless, that had to do with some sushi sauces and whatnot. I don't think we ever got the stains out of the pants. But having said that, I really thought that it was important to share another facet of my dad, the intellectual facet, the planning. And Alana just shared with me, my sister Alana just shared with me a beautiful story yesterday. And she said that my dad's first job, he was working in office. He was like doing clerical stuff. And what happened was he was very organized, had all his files and everything put together. And one of the higher ups came down and asked him for a file. And he saw that everything was really very, very well organized. And he asked my dad, can I have this file? And my dad was like, well, no, I need that file. It's part of the organization. You can't just take a file. It's going to mess up my system. And the guy's like, well, what are you talking about? Like, I'm your boss. You have to give me the file. My dad said, okay, I'll give you the file, but we have to make a note that you took it and you're going to sign it and everything. What ended up happening is this guy was so impressed with my dad that he gave him a major promotion, and he ended up moving up the company all because of this skill set and this trait. So I think it's something to think about. How we organize ourselves. Are we prepared? And do we prevent things that we would not want to happen? In any event, moving forward, one of the big questions that everybody's asking, and I wanted to share with, is how is everybody doing? How are you doing in Israel? How is your family? How are the people that are close to us? And, I don't think it's a big secret that it's been a very challenging few weeks. And I would like to share with you and reflect on what happened on October 7th, what was going on with me. The night before was Simchat Torah. I was at yeshiva. I ate dinner at yeshiva, and I was with all the guys. We were dancing. Everything was fine. In the morning, I had no idea what was going on. I was walking to shul. I kind of heard explosions and stuff like that, but I thought I was just hearing things because I was really tired. I went to shul. I started davening. The chazan came in. And he said, "Did you hear what's going on?" I said, "No, I have no idea what's going on." Apparently, a bunch of these guys, they're in the army, so they have army radio, so on and so forth. And he shared that there was some kind of something going on in the south, but we weren't exactly clear. A few minutes later, a fellow who is officially in the army, he's also a rabbi. He came in. He started briefing us on what was going on. We couldn't even believe what he was saying. They were talking about Hamas terrorists infiltrating, taking over army base, driving around in ATVs, killing people at random. At this point, there were some videos that were circulating, but we hadn't seen them. We're in the Sephardic Minyan. It's in a big building on the bottom floor. It's usually a gan for children. It's Rav Meir Abuchatzera, the great-grandson of the Baba Sali's Minyan. He wasn't with us. He was with his father in Ashdod, much closer to the source of fire. And all of a sudden, we hear the sirens. So we've never used the bomb shelter in the Gan. As a matter of fact, it was still packed with supplies and with games and so on and so forth. We quickly had to get in there. We started organizing everything. The lights were off. There was no oxygen. We quickly realized that we needed to break Shabbat. I personally turned on the light because the children were panicking and the siren was going off. We quickly set up the oxygen so that we would have air in the room. And that was the first of 6 times that we went into the bomb shelter in the middle of Tefillah without really knowing what was going on 100%. I then made it to Leva Torah because Leva Torah did the Ashkenazi custom of having hakafot before Kriyat Torah. So I went there, was leading one of the hakafot. And we did some dancing. We didn't really know. We had some reports of what was going on, but we didn't really know exactly what was going on. And it ended up that I stayed there for a couple of hakafot. And since Leva Torah is such a big building, they decided that the whole Beit Midrash was fit to be a bomb shelter, a miklat. And so we stayed there. The challenge is that we were singing and dancing, so on and so forth. So we didn't really hear what was going on. So there were a couple of sirens, whatever. We finished the hakafah. I walked back to the Sephardic Minyan. I walked back into the room, and nobody's there. There was just 2 Sifrei Torah on the bima, and no one was there. And I just stood there like in the twilight zone for like a couple of minutes, and all of a sudden they came out of the bomb shelter, and they're like, "What are you doing here?" I was like, "What am I doing? What are you doing there?" They were like, "Didn't you hear the siren?" I was like, "No, I didn't hear any siren." So what happened was, right after a siren went off, I just wandered outside, which is, the most dangerous thing you could possibly do. And I ended up wandering to shul. We went back in. We had a few more sirens. During one of the sirens, when I was in there with everybody, I actually did aromatherapy treatments on the entire minyan. I fortunately had I see you laughing there, Eliezer. Thank you. I pulled out my lavender rose blend and started applying it to everybody in the room. Everyone was calmed by it. It definitely smelled better than what the room originally smelled like. And so that was it was what it was. We attempted to do hakafot, and what happened was we had a siren in the middle, so we decided we can't do this. We did like 2, 3 minutes of hakafot, and then everybody went home. Everyone dispersed. I came back home. Fortunately, as you know, we had a Sefer Torah here, so I just did hakafot by myself or with my family members for a little bit. Avrami and Sarah were in Yerushalayim, so it was just me, Ora, and Ne'ima who were here. Right after we did those hakafot, we had another siren, and we all ran upstairs to the miklat. That was the sixth and last siren of the day. At this point, we still didn't know exactly what was going on, but we were getting more information. And what happened was a number of Lev HaTorah Rebbeim, their sons are very high up in the military. So Reb Boaz Rosh Yeshiva, Reb Sitrin, the Sgan Rosh Yeshiva, both of their sons are very much in the know. They came, they gave us a briefing at Lev HaTorah as to what's going on. They also said that the chief of Hamas had announced that everyone should find Jews and attack them and kill them wherever they were. We didn't really know what was going on. We thought that there were Arabs rioting in every city all over the country. I was like walking around with a sword. It was crazy. We didn't know exactly what was going on. And it's at that point, which was a very challenging personal moment for me, that three of my guests who are in the army were walking down the street in their uniforms, with their boots, with their stuff, with their guns. And they told me, Rebbe, we're going. You know, we don't know where we're going. We don't know if we're going to the front. We don't know, but we got to go. And half of the yeshiva emptied because all the Hesder guys are in reserves. And so all of a sudden, like 30 to 50 guys just had to go. And we didn't know where they were going. We didn't know what was going on. I gave them a bracha. I put my hand on their head. I cried. I gave them a bracha. I never had an experience of sending a student that I love to war, and who knows what's going to happen. So that was just crazy. And we had Mitch here with us, a student who wasn't in the reserves. He's in Hebron right now, and he had gone over and someone had shown him some of the videos. So he shared with us some of the stuff that was going on, and that really, was completely insane. In any event, I could go on, but what ensued after that was a bundle of worries. We were worried that we were getting missiled. We were worried that there could be terrorist attacks both in our homes and on our friends and everyone anywhere in Jerusalem or anywhere. We were worried for our soldiers. Right now, we have over 200 Leib alumni and people that we know, fathers. We had a number of Rebbeim that went in, a number of reserve, and all the Hesdar guys, all the Madrichim. We lost all the Madrichim in a couple of moments. They were all gone. It was incredible. Everybody just picked up and left. So we were worried about them. And we were worried about Klal Yisrael. We had no idea what was going on. So it was literally a bundle of worries. It literally had, and then to add to that, we started seeing what was going on in Europe. We started seeing what was going in Russia. There was that huge, crazy thing that happened in the airport. We started seeing mobs of people in America chanting, "Kill the Jews." And that was utterly shocking. And, we were worried about you guys. So it was really, we were in a state of nonstop worry for weeks and weeks. Not that we're not worried now. We're a little bit less worried. There's a ceasefire right now. But so I'd like to share a few reflections. Becca, as some of you know, is in Rav Kellerman's Musar Vod, and she's also been listening to Rebbetzin Esther Wien, who is the granddaughter of Rav Schwab, two people from the Musar community. And there were three ideas that they shared that I really wanted to share with all of you. The first idea is that, at least from a Musar and a Hasidic perspective, from a philosophical perspective, we believe that whatever happens in the world, there's something for us to take out of it. There's something for me to personally take out of that may be different from what each one of you takes out of it. So the first lesson is when something happens, something cataclysmic, what am I supposed to take out of it? What am I supposed to learn from it? How am I supposed to be better from it? The second idea is that during the massacres, there was this incredible story, and there are many, many such stories. But there was a woman who, was not observant, probably not even believing in God, and she was in her place. It was in one of the kibbutzim, And she heard the shooting, she heard the terrorist, and she doesn't know what happened. She just turned to God and said, God, if you save me and my family, we will keep Shabbat. And the terrorists knocked on the door. They tried to get in. They couldn't get in, and they just moved to the next house. And she and her family survived. And they've been keeping Shabbat. But I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on the question of, if I were in that situation and I heard them shooting outside and I said, God, please save me, what would I do? What would I offer? What would any of us offer that would radically change our lives? What would we say, right? What are we willing to give? And the question is, why aren't we doing it? If we believe that that's valuable, if we believe that that's, important, what does it take for us to get to that level? And the third idea that was shared was, sometimes we fall into a pattern of negative statements or of negative thought, or we become attached to certain words like stupid or annoying or whatever, and that sets off a chain reaction of how we react to our friends and our family, which is certainly not the way we want to be. And so the third idea is to be aware and conscious of different words, different terminology that we have in our vocabulary or we have in our mental constructs that unfortunately bring us and others down, and how perhaps we can transform that, and how perhaps we can start to look at things and frame them in a more positive manner, or at the very least communicate with other people in a more positive manner and not in a demeaning and degrading manner, not in a negative manner. Here in Israel, we have experienced an unprecedented unity. We went from almost being at civil war, people literally hating each other, to an unprecedented situation of love, of affection, of being there for one another. I can't even begin to tell you what it feels like in the streets to see everybody united. Yes.
No, I hear you puking.
What was that? Okay. In any event, so it was incredible to see how so many Haredim helped the soldiers. 2,000 Haredim enlisted into the IDF. We had nonstop videos of Haredim and religious people going to the bases, bringing food, bringing hundreds of pizzas, putting on tefillin, giving out tzitzit. There were thousands of people that were supposedly not religious, supposedly this, that, and the other thing, coming and thanking them and saying Shema. The soldiers said, we don't want candy, we don't want snacks, we want tzitzit. We want to put tefillin. We raised hundreds and hundreds of books of Tehillim, hundreds of different things. The real question is, we achieved this unity, and at what cost, at what price? It's so beyond devastating to think. And what really worries me personally is looking at world Jewry and looking at what's going on in the United States and not seeing a paralleled unity and not seeing that people have come together. I was particularly devastated by a recording that I heard from Rosh Yeshiva at one of the mainstream yeshivot. There was a big controversy about the rally, whether Haredi or yeshivish Jews should go to the rally. There were a number of points. You can read it online. I posted it on Facebook. Rabbi Beryl Wine was interviewed. He actually started crying in the middle of the interview. That was his reaction to this division. I'll let you guys listen for yourself. I'm certainly not going to judge anybody in terms of that. But tier one was the rally. Look, I've never been a big rally guy. I understand so on and so forth. But the second tier was the Rosh Yeshiva said that we shouldn't send letters to the soldiers. The children should not be sending letters to the soldiers. I was beyond myself to hear such a thing. I knew for a fact that our soldiers treasured the letters. I posted thereafter a video of the soldier saying how much the letter meant to him. I was told afterwards by one of our dear friends that's in the yeshiva there that the Rosh Yeshiva was Choser, that he took back his statement. But I must question. I mean, he took back the statement, but he already made the statement. How could he not have researched? How could he not have asked if this does any good before telling thousands of people that you shouldn't send letters to the soldier? But again, that's also, I could handle that. What was most utterly devastating, and I send this recording to many of you, was the statement at the end that we do not want to make our heroes the soldiers of the IDF. They are not our heroes. They are not people that we look up to. I can't even begin to tell you how that makes us feel. I was just at the Shiva of my neighbor, the Early family. Their 19-year-old son lost his life. He was a yeshiva guy. I can't tell you about how many people have lost their lives that served our country. I can't tell you how many fathers, religious fathers, left their home for months. How many rabbis from our yeshiva that learn Torah every day went to the front lines and are risking their life to save us. And those are not people that we should honor. Those are not people that we should look at heroes. Am I to believe that David HaMelech wasn't a warrior? Am I to believe that the Maccabees and the Hashmonayim were not warriors? Am I to believe the only definition of a Torah true Jew is someone who cowers and is a victim? I was beyond devastated, beyond devastated. I can't to this day believe that anyone could denigrate our heroes, that anyone could say something that's negative about them. They are literally risking their lives and putting themselves in danger to protect us. And people that think, you think that Israel is not the front line, I think the people in America now realize that they are also subject to anti-Semitism. I, for the last few weeks, have been spending a lot of time just surveying what's happening in the world, to take a look at what's happened in England. I don't need to explain it. You can do your own research, to look at France, to look at most European countries that literally cannot protect their Jewish communities. I take a look at the United States. I am a student of history. I look at the anti-Semitism that's gone on across the country. My students sent me reports of what's happening on at least 20 different college campuses where there are mobs of people walking around chanting death to the Jews. There are people walking around literally saying, we want to kill the Jews. Who could have imagined such a thing? How did we get from the college campus being a place of sensitivity training and microaggressions, and we have to have a safety room in case I hear an idea that imploded my world because I couldn't handle someone saying something differently than me, and we have to have a safety room, and you're not allowed to say anything here, and we have crayons and we have bubbles to blow. We went from that to thousands of people marching around campus, harassing Jews, attacking Jews, saying they want to kill them, saying they want to rape them, and we're going to continue as normal. So I've got to be honest with you. I had a total flip out. I can no longer in my own mind justify telling my students who are here that they're safe at any Ivy League college. How can I tell them that? I have personal evidence from my students there that they aren't safe. They don't feel safe. So I am beyond devastated. But if I care about my students and I love them, I have to question a number of things. Number one, I ask them, does having a college degree automatically give you a parnasa? Does having a college degree automatically mean that you will be employed? That may have been true 50 years ago. It's certainly not true today. Take a look at so many people that have their liberal arts degrees or any number of degrees that are just not employable degrees. If you take a look at so many different people that have made it, right, we find that there are a lot of people that did not require a college degree, and it's possible to make lots of money, have a parnasa, have a career, so on and so forth, if you are not directed. I'm not taking a stab at Miriam or Charles. I am telling people to continue in the medical field because we really need them. But at
Hey,
the
I
end of
didn't
the day, to
graduate
just go
college.
liberal arts. That's true. But in any event, so we have to ask these questions. And even if you're going to go to Yeshiva University or you're going to go to Turo for 5 years, how long is that going to last for? How long is the American dream going to last for after we've seen what's taken place? You have 5 years, you have 10 years, you have 15 years. We have seen that everything is corroded from the inside. You have seen the next generation of people at Harvard and Columbia and NYU want to kill you in America and me here in Israel. They've said it. They're not holding anything back. It's clear. And they're joined by all the allies of anti-Semitism across the board. So this leads me to a tremendous quandary. Every single one of you know that when you have spoken to me about Aliyah, you have spoken to me about moving here, I have taken a very middle of the road approach. I have always said people should not make Aliyah unless they're ready to do it, unless they have the funds, unless they have, a plan, so on and so forth. It's very difficult for me to continue in that position if I care about you. I am a student of history. I've studied too much about what happened in pre-war Europe. When you take a look at the many rabbis that told their congregations to stay and that they would be okay and not to leave and not to go to America and not to go to Israel, it's devastating, utterly devastating to see. I ask, what is my personal responsibility to all of you? And I believe that my personal responsibility is to share that it's time to have an exit strategy. I do not think that anyone who is objectively viewing the situation in America across the board, whether it's on the political spectrum, whether it's in the university campus, or whether it's in the work field, there are any number of tremendous challenges that are going to get worse and worse. I cannot just tell you to continue as normal and not to be concerned. That would be irresponsible of me. You know that I've always tried to take a balanced approach. I've always tried to be in the middle of the road. At this point, my rational side cannot say that things are the same. Everything has changed on the ground. I have been completely convinced that it is time to start making the plan. It's time to have an exit strategy. And I cannot convince myself otherwise. Would we have imagined what happened on the campus overnight change? Would we have imagined the day after the massacre in Times Square on October 8th that thousands of people would gather screaming death to the Jews? Would we imagine all of the vandalism? Would we imagine that a Jew would be killed in California and no one would report it and no one would care, right? What happened with Floyd, with Black Lives Matter when they killed him? Right? Worldwide protest riots. A Jew is killed in the street with a megaphone pounded to death. Nobody says anything. Even the Jewish network, nobody made a big deal about it. So I know that it's crazy. I know that it's harsh, but from where I'm sitting and as a student of history, it's very difficult for me to say everyone should continue business as usual and not at least start to prepare an exit plan. I think Dove made a post on Facebook that I would advise you to all read. In any event, I would like to end with something a little bit more uplifting, because I know that was very serious. But again, I can't look at you guys 5 years from now and be asked, Rabbi Eli, why didn't you say anything? You knew that everything was bad. You knew that, you knew this. And you, as my friend, as my teacher, you didn't say anything. You didn't tell me to worry on me. So I'm forced to share my inner feelings. In any event, I've been reading a number of books by Nachman Seltzer. He recently put out the 90 Seconds book about Eli Beer, the founder of Hatzalah. Couldn't put it down. Charles, I order you to read this book. You must read it. Miriam too, sorry. If you don't like it, I'll pay you back. Don't worry. In any event, he has this beautiful story, and I'm going to follow up with a real life situation. And what happened was basically there was a fellow by the name of Daniel, and Daniel received a very disturbing phone call from the Seven Oaks Nursing Care Facility telling him that there was some serious news. the woman finally told him that his mother had passed away, and he had to come and make sure of everything. So he went. He was so shell-shocked he couldn't even shed any tears. He went to the facility. He got there with no problems. For whatever reason, they had already taken his mom out to the hall, and he went through the funeral. He gave an amazing eulogy. He sat through Shiva, and the whole time he felt like something was missing, something was wrong. And from here, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have to read it because I can't tell a story as well as Reb Nachman Seltzer can write it. All of a sudden, the phone rings. Hello? Daniel? The voice was so familiar that Daniel started. Daniel, who is this? He replied, his hands starting to shake. Daniel, the voice said sharply. Don't tell me you forgot the way I sound. You didn't call last week. I said no, he was probably busy and forgot. But then you missed again, 2 weeks in a row already? Now that's not like you. So I said, if my son Daniel doesn't call me, then I'd better call him. Is everything okay, sweetie? Daniel rubbed his eyes. Was he getting enough sleep? Was he hallucinating? Was everything okay? Everything was definitely not okay. Ma? Yeah, Chef Salah. I've never been so happy to hear your voice. That's so sweet. Now let me tell you what happened the other day when I went to the doctor. Seven Oaks. Stacy speaking. May I help you? Hi, Stacy. This is Daniel Weinreich. Can I please speak with the director? I'll see if he's available, sir. Please tell him that it's regarding my mother, who, as it so happens, is alive and well and still residing in the same suite she's been living in for the last 7 years. She's not, thank heaven, dead, as Seven Oaks pronounced her to be just a short time ago. Oh, please hold, sir. A click and a buzz. Mr. Weinreich, this is Pesach Terensky. That was some message you gave Stacy. What's going on? The thing is, Mr. Terensky, I was kind of hoping you would be able to tell me what's going on. You see, I tore Kriya for my mother. I delivered a tear-jerker of a eulogy, buried her, said Kaddish for her. For 7 days, I sat Shiva. And today, out of the blue, I get a phone call from none other than my mother, very much alive. She wanted to know why I haven't called for 2 weeks like I always do. As you can imagine, that was quite a call. I'm sure it was. Well, do you think you can check out the situation in your place, find out exactly who died? Because if it wasn't my mother, then it must have been someone else, and it would probably be a good idea on your part to clarify that particular matter, if you know what I'm saying. I assure you that I know exactly what you're saying. Okay, then, I'll be waiting to hear from you. Mr. Weinreich, Transky here. Okay, I conducted an investigation to what actually happened. It turns out that the mother who passed away the woman who passed away occupied the suite directly above your mother. Not only that, she actually had the exact same name as your mother as well. There was an agency nurse on that day filling in for a regular staff, and somehow things got mixed up. Badly. I am sure sorry. I'm truly sorry that we didn't hold the body here at the facility until you arrived to identify it, which would have prevented all of these problems. I'm sorry too. By the way, my interjection, that is the halacha, by the way, that somebody has to identify the person. That is the halacha. Yes, I can imagine. I would like to apologize with the right words, but those particular words seem to be eluding me at the moment. Look, Mr. Taransky, I think that your priority right now is dialing the number of the family of the woman who did die. I think they need to know that they missed the burial, funeral, the Shiva. I don't envy you that phone call. Well, I appreciate your understanding, Mr. Weinreich. I'll be in touch to let you know how everything turns out. Lamayim. Taransky prepared himself mentally for the most difficult call of his career. Fingers shaking and hearts beating widely, he dialed the number, steeling himself for what was to come. The phone rang. Maybe nobody would answer. Maybe nobody would be home. Ever. It rang again and again. Hello? Mr. Arnold Weinreich? That's right. Who wants to know? This is Pesach Taransky from the Seven Oaks Nursing Care Facility. I'm sorry to say that I have some bad news for you. Pause. Is my mother sick? Well, it's a little more serious than that. Did my mother pass away? Well, it's a little more serious than that even. More serious than dying? Well, Mr. Weinreich, it seems that your mother lived one floor above another woman who has the same exact name. Now, your mother passed away about 12 days ago, but unfortunately there was a mix-up, and we mistakenly notified the wrong Weinreich. That Weinreich tore his clothing, held a funeral for her, delivered a eulogy, it was heartrending, by the way, buried her, sat Shiva for her, and has been saying Kaddish for her since they were informed of her passing. Wait a second, interjected Arnold. You mean to tell me that my mother was buried? That's correct, sir. According to Jewish law? Yes, sir. And someone ripped their clothing for her the way that Jewish law demands. The guy said Kaddish for her? Yes, sir. Quiet on the other end of the line. Suddenly, the roar erupted. Ma, you won after all. What? Asked a completely discombobulated Taransky when his ears finally stopped ringing. With voice breaking with emotion, Arnold Weinreich related how his mother had always told him that she wanted a Jewish burial, a burial according to Jewish law, the way the halacha demands. But I always laughed in her face, he told Taransky. I told her that I would never give in to her, and I didn't believe in any of this stuff, and there was no way that I would be willing to perpetuate these archaic beliefs. The last time we spoke, she begged me once again to promise her that I would carry out her final request. I said that I wouldn't. Then I'll just have to rely on God in heaven, she told me. I laughed at her. What could I do? What could God do if I refused to carry out her wishes? But now I see. She had him on her side, and that was enough. That was more than enough. Arnold Weinreich said goodbye to an extremely moved nursing facility director. Sharansky had no more questions about the mix-up, neither did Daniel. Obviously, it was a mistake orchestrated by the one above. Just in the interest of fairness, not all the stories are that good, but like half of them are really that good. Now, amazingly, and Chana Vula sent this to the group just a few hours ago, and I was going to say this anyways. One of the terrorist groups that was holding one of the older women announced a couple of days ago that she was killed in an Israeli bombing. Baruch Hashem, yesterday she was returned to Israel, and she is very much alive and here. What do I take from these stories? Well, first of all, things sometimes aren't what they seem. Sometimes we might even think that the worst has happened and the truth is otherwise. I don't think that we have any easy solutions. We obviously, can't rely on any miracles. But I'll just say that my father and his entire family had to leave Egypt last minute. They left with nothing. They had $5 in their pocket. Rabbi Genak, the head of the OU at my father's Levaya, mentioned that there's a very, very wealthy Egyptian man. I forgot his name. And this man lives in Geneva. And behind his desk is a big, big portrait of Nasser. Who is Abdel Nasser? Abdel Nasser is the dictator that took over Egypt and launched all the wars against Israel. So Rabbi Genak asked him, why do you have this guy, why do you have his portrait over your, in your thing? So the guy answered, and I'm just going to use the words that Rabbi Genak used at the eulogy. He said, well, if it wasn't for that mamzer, I'd still be a poor man in Egypt. So at the end of the day, obviously he moved to Geneva. He became a very successful businessman, so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, we will all try our best. I pray for all of you that everyone should be safe. I want to end with a prayer for our soldiers, for our hostages, for all those that are wounded, for all of us, for all of you in America, for all of you wherever you may be, that you should be safe, that you should keep spreading the light, that you should not become despondent. You should know that here in Israel, even though we are facing very, very devastating situation from the north, from the south, from the crazy Houthi Yemenite rebels that are launching missiles from us, we don't know what will happen in the West Bank. We don't know what will happen with the Israeli Arabs. We have lists and lists. We are all together. I look out at my block and I know that every single one of my neighbors will protect me with his or her life. And that's something that unfortunately you cannot reproduce in the Galut. So I am happy to speak to everyone personally. If you'd like to call, if you'd like to discuss, so on and so forth. Charles, I know that we're long overdue for a talk, but I wanted to really thank everyone. I got a lot of messages from all of you asking how we were. I do very much feel connected to all of you, and I really appreciate it. And, look, we're all in this together. And we've got to remember that what is going to enable us to win and to survive is our unity, is our connection. And we've really got to focus on that. And that's what we're focused on here in Israel. We don't care about levels of observance. We just care that we're all together. We can work that out in the future. Right now, we're in a fight for survival. And the most important thing is that we protect one another. And that's where we're at. That's my report. We have a few minutes if anyone wants to ask any questions or whatever it may be. But I really want to thank you all. My father should have an aliyah tanishama. We owe so much to him. I know that many of you had the great pleasure of meeting him and talking to him, so on and so forth. But I said it yesterday. I'll just say, like, to my siblings, if my dad would have seen what was going on over the next 5 years, he would have been like, get me out of there. I'm out, man. I'm not dealing with this craziness between COVID, between Aunt Colette, between the war. He definitely wouldn't have wanted to be around for this. So I'd much rather having him rooting for us upstairs and his ichuyot. But in any event, please, if anyone has anything they'd like to add or it's a question, you are being recorded, I think, which you were warned about from the get-go. So just a heads up. I know Hananya Weissler is having big difficulties, wrapping his head around moving to Israel and living here. I had the great pleasure.
I'm considering it. I'm on the edge. I'm not sure yet.
That's right. So I had the great pleasure. Some of you saw Hananya came to our operations center, and we treated him. He was like a kid in the candy store. I want you to know, Hananya, it will amuse you, and it'll definitely amuse Mr. Cohn, that I was just given permission to provide shmek tabak for the soldiers. So I will be going out and getting on consignment some. For my opinion, it's better than the cigarettes they're smoking. So I will be. I'll also probably give them some essential oils as well. But we'll work on it. Charles doesn't think so, but whatever.
I'll make sure to get to you. I'm here, Yamina.
Nice. Yeah.
Rabbi, I have a fascinating question. The two stories you said about people we assumed were dead and turned out to be alive, both the hostage and the story from the book. Are you allowed to say bracha techiyas amesim upon finding out they're alive?
The great question. I'd have to ask halachic authority. It's literally mechaya metiv. It's unreal. Yeah. I mean, well, look, we know that you're allowed to make the bracha mechaya metim after not seeing someone for 12 months, according to most halachic authorities. Not according to Ben Ishchai and others. They say to say it without the shame. But there are some people that say that if you don't see your friend in 12 months, you can say mechaya metim. So there's certainly probably some bracha to be made, because it's definitely a joyous, it's definitely a tova metiv. If you make a tova metiv and winning the lottery, you're making a lot of money. If you find out your loved one is alive and not dead, for sure. So I didn't see it inside, but that's my assumption. So everyone knows Avrami is back here. He made Aliyah officially about a year ago. He's working with computers and coding and all that. He got a job across the street. Sarah is living in Tel Aviv. She's working in a high-tech place. She comes back every once in a while. Ora is at dorm school. She's in a theater school, which is, by the way, like, 5-10 minutes away from the Gaza line. She just returned to school for the first time last week. We didn't want to send her, and she didn't want to go. And Naima just started pretty much what's considered high school here. And thank God all the kids are doing well. Everyone's doing okay. Becca has been, after her work, which was very well received, the Simcha of Marriage book, Becca has been translating and writing a lot of, not translating, transcribing some of Rav Gurzi's works. So the plan is to publish a number of Rav Gurzi's works. And then I've been working on Rav Machlis to do a book, Chesed on the Parsha. Me personally, I'll be editing a book called Mimizrach Mimarav and reprinting it in memory of my dad. It's a book basically for Sfardim who are in Ashkenazi communities and what to do halachically. So that's what we're up to. I've been teaching basically only at Leva Torah. Torah Tech was in the line of fire. A lot of the guys went back. I hope to be able to go back there soon. They switched their schedule. I have to say that all the shivas that I'm involved with, they were incredible. Leva Torah had a whole operational center. We must have tied at least 20,000 pairs of tzitzit. Our guys, and I posted this on Facebook, we staffed the Yesh supermarket because most of the employees were Arabs and it was a whole situation. So our guys, these like 18-year-old guys, basically stocked the shelves for weeks. The Shana Bet guys volunteered in hospitals. It cannot be said that they weren't part of what was going on here. The Torah Tech guys are very needed because they're all in high-tech places. And a lot of the workers got called to the reserves. That's what we got 360,000 people that got called to the reserves. So you have a tremendous amount of people from the workforce. We had like 3 rabbis that left. We had to find substitutes for them. So in any event, what ended up happening is that all these high-tech places needed work. So Torah Tech was like, we will help you. And so they doubled all the guys' hours and there was less teaching. So that's another reason that I didn't go in. But both places, totally involved in the war effort, totally involved in Chizuk. I felt so bad for the Torah Tech guys. They were in Tel Aviv. They were literally in and out of the shelters every day for weeks and weeks in the middle of the night, so on and so forth. It was completely crazy, very scary. In any event, so we recorded this. So I said some words about my dad and other things in the beginning. I'll probably edit it and then post it. But it was such a pleasure to see everybody. As always, I want to implore you, please don't ever hesitate to get in touch with me. I'm always happy to make time for you. I'm always happy to speak to you. Sometimes I get busy, but I will always get back to you. And I'm thinking about all you guys every day and davening for you. And I'm here for you. If you need to talk, I'm here for you for whatever it may be. We may be thousands of miles away, but we're certainly all very much connected. And as I said, well, you're seeing Dove on the thing, but he's sitting right across from me.
Yeah. There was a bunch of people who kind of.
No, can I say something?
Please. Hi,
So,
Hannah.
so I kind of came in late, but like I just want to say it's not all bad here. Like where we live, it's very, very religious Christian, and it's fairly pro-Israel. And like we just had a neighbor that just moved in like last week. And she was telling me she's Greek. I'm like, I'm Jewish. She's like, I love Jewish people. I'm like, okay, good. You know what I mean? So like, and then they did have a pro-Palestinian rally here. There is a Palestinian community in this area, but like they're really not like, I don't know, my husband, the way he describes it, he says like their tail is between their legs. Like, like they don't really get crazy here.
That's probably because of your gun laws in Pennsylvania. I'm not joking. Not joking.
So I'm just saying, like, there are good people, and there was an article also about Wilkes-Barre, how there was that pro-Palestinian rally. If there were maybe 10 people there, like, I would be generous. Nice. And they were very careful with their words. Like, they wouldn't say anything about Hamas. They only said about the humanitarian part of it. Like, they're really being very careful and quiet about it. You know what I'm saying?
That's great.
So there is like good, like pockets of good where Jewish people are like respected. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to share that side of it.
That's great. Very important.
So-
I try to send, I have an Israel WhatsApp group, and I try to send an equal amount of good and not so good news. I've been doing that on Facebook also. There's, thank God, a lot of very heartwarming and positive things that are going on across the world. We're not completely alone. There are some people that are with us. There are some good people, and we definitely need to spread that and share that with everyone.
Yeah.
Just to offer, I know no one here is in high school, but my job is I'm the director of Israel education. So if anyone needs help,
Tell them where.
I live in Oakland, California. I'm 10 minutes from the headquarters of Jews for Palestine. I go to Berkeley campus often. I have a JSU
man.
there every week. So to say I'm in the thick of it when it comes to America, one of the public schools I teach at took down their American flag and put up a Palestinian flag last week. This is what I deal with on like a daily, not weekly, a daily basis. So if anyone needs help, what I do is I teach kids how to have nuanced conversation. I have an 8-page packet on the history of the modern state of Israel. If anyone wants, please let even your kids know or your families know that if they need help dealing with these things online or on campus, it's my job. And I'm very happy, just like the Rav, to help anyone, anytime, in any way I can.
Thanks so much, Eliezer.
May I, Rabbi?
Yes, Miriam, I'm sure you're going to tell us something good.
I had a baby here in the hospital for a handful of days, and I got to know the family pretty well. And the grandmother, one of the grandmothers, she looked at me like on the second day or whatever, and she's like, "Are you Jewish?" And I'm just like, "Yes, I am," And she's like, "I am so sorry for everything that's been going on in Israel and all over the world." And she's like, we are with you. She said that she's from Virginia, and her like entire religious community, they're praying for Israel, and they are spreading the word, trying to do their part. And I was saying how scary it is, and like where would we go if we needed somewhere to escape and whatnot. And she gave me her address. She gave me her address and her phone number, and she said that she would hide us, and that anyone could come to her. She has a big house, and it would be her pleasure, and she'd rather die doing that than to live in such an evil world. So that was very touching.
Wow, unbelievable. Very touching. Thank you for sharing that, Miriam. Unbelievable. Wow. Okay. Well, guys, I want to thank everyone again. I think that my father would be very happy. I really appreciate it. I look forward to being in touch with all of you. And we should only have good things and smachot, and we should continue to express our love and our support for one another. And thank you. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Hashem should bless you all.
Amen. Don't forget Hashem loves you.
Yes.
And
All
we
right.
love you.
Thank you. Shavua Tov. Love you guys and all the best. Be safe. Take care.
Shavua Tov. Thank you.
I don't even know how to stop this. Hi, Charles. Charles, let's that's what I do.
Yeah.
Stop it.
How's it going, Eli?
Okay, Charles, this is being recorded, so we'll catch up. Send me a message, man.
Okay, you got it.
Thank you. Be well.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.